So this is the start of a new show we're doing. I don't know what the hell we're gonna call it. Something probably stupid. So, welcome back. Series regular. KukkiKat, say hello.
Hello. So nice to be back here.
So I've sequestered this room from Loretta because she doesn't want me to spend any more budget on any new shows, but you know, I'm the one maxing out the credit cards, so it's not her choice. So hopefully she doesn't hunt you down because I'll probably use you as a scapegoat.
Oh no, Loretta, I love you. It was all his idea, please.
So I was thinking of a new show because, you know, as much as I love Geeks and Gabbers and, you know, whatever games that the messy-haired guy always throws in my face. So this is a new show we're starting where we're going to be reviewing a show together. Name, withholding, because obviously I don't know what marking is going to come up with. We were just figuring out what type of show we're gonna watch. We could be show, movie, something that we could react to. And right now this is the post-viewing discussion, so there'll be spoilers for the whole series. We should have a pre-show review, you know, just without spoilers. I don't know if it's possible with this type of show for those who are aware or not aware, just because of the infamy of this title. You have more experiences and you're the one that decided to go with this show. How would you describe it without, I don't know, trying to explain what the show is about, but also trying to hook the people? And now I know how it feels to be a corporate marketer.
Okay, I would describe it as a bouncy slice of life with a hint of drama. That's how I would describe it, with being as vague as possible. That's what I say.
And so would you consider it a family drama, or more in what sense of the word drama?
I wouldn't watch this with my family, if that means anything. This is more something I watched alone in the dark.
And that tells a lot about our guest, doesn't it? When I was told we were gonna watch this, I knew a little bit beforehand, but I didn't know how deep the rabbit hole went, so to speak, or the little dog hole. So I should have known better. I should have known that this would be more in KukkiKat's wheelhouse if you know her content.
If you know me, you know my brain thinks of one thing only.
Leon Kennedy.
Oh, Leon. My love.
There's gonna be a lot of that. So let's just put up the Leon Kennedy counter right now. How many times they reference Resident Evil? But you're not even thinking about this right now.
I'm back. I just had to doze off for a second. I thought about it. I thought about the mods. Oh,
the mods. Did you make some of those mods?
I wish. If I knew how to model and mod, that boy wouldn't know what hit him.
We gotta keep him away from you.
No!
Well, without further ado, I guess we'll cross the barrier of spoilers. So do you want to introduce the show that we're reviewing, or do you want me to?
I'll introduce it. So we are watching Gakugarashi, or School Live, and it's a show about 4 girls who are in a club at their school, and there's a puppy, and that's what it is. And their teacher, too.
Oh, wow. This is a generic show about high schoolers in Japan under a specific period of time, which pressures are involved.
Lots and lots of deep pressure.
Oh God, you're gonna make me choke. I guess I'll just rip the Band-Aid off, because this show is about delusions in the midst of a zombie apocalypse.
It's Delulu, there's zombies, there's intensity, and it's everything I've ever dreamed of.
Everything Kukki lied to me about.
Lie is a strong word.
Alternative facts.
That sounds better. Episode 1. What a banger episode.
So what we're going to be doing, how we're going to be structuring this is we'll go episode by episode, going through our thoughts, just because there is some things that, like, the way as Kukki explained it to me, the show is very different from the original source material, the original comic or manga that's based on, due to, I believe it's the way it was released didn't make sense for the creators of the anime versus the creators of the manga. So they took some creative liberties, but I feel like it keeps the same spirit, if that makes sense, just shown in a different way. Because I was doing my own research post-viewing, but I believe that the manga goes in more depth and there's a lot more compelling contrast as compared to the show, but you know the property more, so am I in the right ballpark?
The manga and the anime, I always find this so interesting. I haven't read the manga in years, so I could be misremembering, but from what I remember, the manga's interpretation, obviously, like the source material, like it's a lot more serious, and there's a bit more of a sense of dread compared to the anime, which is a lot more lighthearted, oddly enough. What the anime does is it really emphasizes the concept of having hope in bleak situations, while the manga is more so about struggling to find that hope in a bleak situation. So their vibes are different. They tackle similar ideals and similar storylines, but the way they, what's the word called? Execute them. The way they execute them is very different.
Execution. Yeah, because I was doing some research and I saw that the series was actually finished, which you lied to me about during the original recordings.
No, I said the manga was done, but the anime, they never went back to it.
I was like, oh, did they never finish the show? I mean, they never finished the manga, and I was like, or maybe I'm remembering this wrong, but I was like, oh, that sucks. They never finished the story, but then like,
no, the manga continued on, but the anime, they stopped that after the 12th episode. They said, yeah, we're done.
Yeah, because I'm reading up now that like the reason was I think it was just because of a lot of serialization issues,
too
and
many
just like
differences.
Success. Yeah, and I think like that's like also the issue with adaptations as a whole, because like there's at a point like those differences start to accumulate, and so it does like take away from the story that the original created. But we're going too deep into the rabbit hole too fast. Let's just go from episode to episode, and then you'll start to see like what we mean by differences.
Yes.
So we go into a little more of a flashback for one of the characters, Kurumi, who's the more athletic zombie hunter typical type of character that you've seen a bunch of times over.
She's the badass.
She's the one that actually does the killing, as compared to everyone else who's pretty much useless. Besides the logical one, you know, it's, you know, it's weird because I don't remember character names. Like I remember how they look, which is like, it's kind of messed up as someone who's supposed to like review stories. But yeah, Kurumi is obviously someone who's on it. Like they're always like down to like do the dirty work. Obviously they're on a scouting mission, making sure that like the halls are safe for them to walk on, which you think they would have done beforehand, just considering the nature of their situation. Meanwhile, as we're like cutting between those moments, we have the Lulu child, the pink-haired Yuki, suggesting to raise their spirits, to do a test of courage, which for those who haven't watched that much anime or know much about Japanese culture, is mostly like these sort of like, let's go sit in a graveyard and just like goof off, or like, you know, these like let's do this camping event, and they'll like spook like people as like type of like a haunted mansion type of thing, or haunted house. The rest of the group, while the Delulu child is being Delulu, use this as a chance to like get supplies and just, you know, making sure to clear out some more zombies along the way. But then we see that the teacher, Megumi, the hag,
my wife, the love of my life.
She gets pinned down with Yuki during the search. And she's making sure the other Delulu child is, you know, making sure she doesn't make any noise and kill everyone. But then luckily they come back, and obviously Yuki doesn't like notice like obviously the brutal horrors of the zombie apocalypse that everyone else has to deal with while she's stuck in her own little world. So continuing being useless.
Sometimes you gotta be a little Delulu to survive, because sometimes things be a little too spooky, and it's better to pretend it's not there. Like, if there's a ghost haunting my room, I'm just gonna tell the ghost to hop on Mario Kart with me and pretend it's my friend. What's it gonna do? Kill me? I'd like to see it try.
Yeah, but at that point there's a line of no return for the level of the Lulu, and I feel like we're edging closer to it, considering it could cost these girls their lives. But you know, what do I know besides common sense?
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, just don't go with Kukki whenever there's a nuclear apocalypse. She'll just push you into the hole of wards.
I would be the best person during the apocalypse. No one knows zombies better than me, okay? Just so you know.
You know, while the cookies of the world are scrambling for scraps, I'm just gonna be in my bunker, just making sure they all, like, you know, take care of themselves. At this point, we come to at this point, we see little, like, changes within the show itself, not just in the story and how the characters interact with each other, but also the opening, because it does get a little meta from here on in. And for those with higher media literacy, like big brains like me, you'll start to notice a few little changes. We'll go over, like, all, like, as most of the changes we can remember, and the other we'll put, like, more stuff in. Yeah, you know, thank you for your unpaid work. So we go into a writing session where Megumi is just like venting about these stupid children she has to watch over, and also about, like, obviously how, like, her life has changed since the zombie apocalypse hit. We see her, like, going through, like, what should have been like a normal day. I think it's like this we see the beginning of her, like, last day as a normal teacher before the zombie apocalypse hits. Obviously you see some, like, have you ever seen, like, Dawn of the Dead or, like, Shaun of the Dead, which is the comedic British zombie movie? You'll see some similarities with how they, like, which is surprising. There's a lot of, like, film and literary, like, metaphors and allegories that, like, are put into the show, which surprised me at, like, the depth of the story. But then obviously we go more into, like, Megumi being actually, like, doing things for once, which surprised me, and I was like, oh my god, she's actually, like, responsible. And in that, like, cutesy anime way. Obviously they can't go full Resident Evil or
yeah, she's not pulling out the machine guns yet.
I mean, I don't think they're gonna have machine guns in this normal ass school,
yeah,
as we know it.
Huh?
But yeah, they come with a plan to take care of themselves. They barricade on the roof. What else? Oh, dang, it's been like for context, it's been like 2 weeks since we watched the series as a whole.
Already? Wow.
Yeah, it's been like 2. Yeah, no, it's been a week, I think. Yeah,
I was about to say 2 weeks. That sounds kind of long.
I know. Maybe I have the Yuki's Delulu. I mean, after the COVID, who knows what time is, and especially especially now, but we don't talk about this. And so Yuki, somehow being the person who's planning all these activities, I don't know why you would let her be the charge of the group or whatever. They decide to do like a camping trip. It's just like a device to make like, oh, like we're just having fun as we reflect on the past, because every camping trip has to be a reflective moment in stories. And yeah, so we're like, oh, like, make sure Megami doesn't like realize we're up, ha 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 ha. But it's more like Megami's backstory episode, if anything, and like explains as like how they got to this point as a group, or at least in the group dynamics. Obviously, there are more episodes that go more into specifics. We also get some little bit of like extra parts of like, you know, Kurumi's from last episode where Kurumi was talking about love advice, which obviously adds to the sadness of the current situation of what they've lost since this point. But that's like any good zombie story which we'll have.
What are you doing? Wait, get down from there.
Uh-oh.
Sorry, if you guys suddenly hear me yell, it's because my little darling kitty cat is being a bad girl. And if
Darling
you hear
is one
meowing
word
in my
for it.
audio, it's because of my darling kitty cat yelling at me to get off the computer.
But yeah, so now we're in episode 4. We're thinking that the hag has done so much for them, which was called Outing. So this is I believe the first episode where we actually go back a bit in time, from like as the group perspective. If you want to more lean into that.
This is my one critique. I get why they did it, but I always found the timeline a little weird because it starts at one point, right? And then it goes back in time. And then it's like the way how it jumps, like it's a little confusing because you don't know what's present or future, and then the way that it flows is just a little off. When I first saw it, I was a little confused. I was like, wait, what's happening?
Yeah, the pacing does leave like a little bit, like the viewer a little bit weirded out, and like it gives that eerie feeling of like, wait, it's just like, because they act as if it's the present day, but then you notice that like one member of the team is missing, which is Miki, which at this point we find out Miki's the last member to join the club. So this is all like Miki's episode and Miki's life during the zombie apocalypse before she meets the school life club, where she has her friend Keishido, along with the introduction of the most annoying dog on the planet. The hate for Torumuru here is unapparent. It's Claire and Crystal.
I can't. I know I'm a cat, but hop off my dog brothers, okay?
Oh, it's the first time these two species are uniting because of my hatred.
Sleep with one eye open. We're all coming for you at night.
I'm just gonna see like a note with a dog treat that says, "Enjoy the treat while it lasts." So this is like their life, like, because they like after the zombie apocalypse, they like hold themselves up in the mall, which we were weirded out by because we at first thought it was like an apartment, but it turns out it was like one of their like corporate offices. I don't know if the mall itself or like offices they rent out. But yeah, they held themselves in the mall. In the upper levels where a lot of zombies can't get to because either you need like an elevator access or you have to walk a bunch of stairs, which seems like a good idea at first to hold out, but unfortunately people like to conversate and have lives and walk in the sunshine.
Terrible. Who likes sunshine? Gross.
Meanwhile, intercut, we have like Yuki proposing to go take a school outing, as the current group is the 3 girls, which was Kurumi, what was the name of the leader
Yuri.
girl, Yuri?
Yeah, Yuri.
Yuri, the one that reminds me of Florida too much, and useless child Yuki. They all and Megami, as they all head out to explore and like, you know, what was the suggestion? Like, a school outing, yeah, probably like a field trip. And they go towards the mall, which obviously where Miki and the dog is. But then we intercut back to Miki's perspective, and we see that Kei at this point has been weeks without any news. Kei's been like trying to see if there's any more survivors as Miki, these names are gonna make me confused. The logical one, it's obviously fine with surviving as long as like, you know, her friend is there, but you know, Kei being someone who loves social like interaction and talking to other humans, decides to branch out on her own and like try to find survivors. Miki obviously is like, no, please stay, but obviously Kei's made up her mind and she decides to leave, leaving Tarmar with Miki. And it's a pretty sore moment. I don't know why they decide to have these underage girls in their undergarments, but you know, that's just not my thing.
That's just anime things, you know.
Yeah, I mean, that's just, you have to ignore that. But also, it's good to point out, like, well, I don't know if that's also the way they draw it in the manga, so hopefully they're a little more tasteful. But I don't.
I fear I don't remember.
But yeah, that's how it ends. We see the girls like make their way towards the mall. As obviously the meeting will be soon happening, which is actually the name of the episode, Meeting. So this is Miki's introduction to the club. It's continuing those batch of episodes of her like being introduced into the School Lives Club or Living Club. But you also see how dysfunctional and how it's kind of like, no, what would you call it? What you call it? Like someone's like, are they like too dependent on each other? Which obviously in a codependent, thank you. In their negative codependent like ways, like adding and like adding on to the delusions that Yuki is facing, and being the more logical of the people so far. She kind of calls out the group on it, and obviously explaining some more lore, because as we try to figure out like how deep the Delulu, like, because we see it from like Miki's eyes, how deep the Delulu is, we notice to see like there's someone that like they keep mentioning that isn't really there, which we think like, wait, what are you talking about? Because we see all the girls here and we think everyone's here. I forget if it's this episode or the next episodes. We find out the truth of what's happening to one of the members.
It's this episode.
It's this? Okay, great. I'll go into it. It turns out that Megumi has been dead the whole time. And Miki's the first one to be like, who are you guys talking about? Because everyone else knows. Because we've only seen the perspective from the rest of the group about Megumi, their old class advisor. But we find out that she sacrificed herself to save them from a zombie horde earlier during that time. But they've left Yuki just like continuing the delusion that she was still alive. And obviously the group is like not really equipped to deal with the situation, so they just ask Miki to keep going along with it. Obviously she's still hesitant, but obviously like as they continue on with this like sports meet thing that like Yuki's made up, Miki starts to like, you know, accept the situation and tries to fit herself in the group as being the more logical one, and obviously wanting to understand who these people are, because learning to be more open to other people's experiences because of what happened with her old friend, which let her leave. So she's like, her whole arc is like opening up to other people. I mean, I wish it was a better, more saner group, but you know, we can't be choosers in the zombie apocalypse.
No, can't be beggars. Can't be beggars or choosers.
So we'll stop and like talk about this a little more, just because this is more like the halfway point of the series, with this big revelation. I guess I'll start with my experience, just because being the a recent viewer. Yeah, it was really interesting because I didn't really notice the signs of Megumi's like uninvolvement, because I assumed she was just like one of the other members, just like a survivor, like very similar to Yuki, which should have been one of the clues, just because she was so like her, in fact, in terms of like wanting to be respected as like a senior member or a teacher, as similar to Yuki, who's compared to Miki wants to be treated like a senior because she's a year older than her, and there's a more respectful sense of tradition in Japanese culture, and I mean universal as well. They want to be like seen as someone that can take care of their younger members, and of course, like there's other signs that you, if obviously I've had more, wasn't paying attention more, probably could have picked up on. But it's really interesting. It really surprised me, and which is, I think it was by design, which I think if it was done poorly, I feel like could have been seen as off-putting. But it's like written in the right amount of like eeriness and creepiness that it pulls off the surprise. But I want to see your thoughts on this.
It's okay. When I first saw this, it blew my mind, and watching it with you, this is, I think, my 4th or 5th time watching it again.
Mm-hmm.
And after watching it, like now knowing everything, and then watching it again, like the signs are they're very obvious, but when you're watching it for the first time, you don't see it. Because there's a lot of things happening and you don't notice it. Like, for example, there will be frames where Yuki is talking to Megumi and she's there, and then in the next frame, suddenly she's not there when the other girls are talking. It's little things like that. On top of that, the girls don't have meaningful conversations with Megumi besides Yuki. Like, for example, the whole... Because when you watch it for the first time, you just think she's the comic relief character. Like, oh, she's the hag, and they don't respect her because she's old, and that's funny. Like, when they make fun of her, saying, like, oh, she doesn't have much of a presence, or she's not a respectable teacher, like, stuff like that.
Right.
It's written as comic relief, and you just take it as that the first time you're watching it, because it's a slice of life / horror, so it's like, yeah, that makes sense. She's the comic relief character. Everyone needs that. But then when you realize it's because she's not there. They don't realize that in Yuki's mind she's talking, so they talk over her. And then when Yuki was like, you guys are being mean to Megumi, they're like, oh, sorry Megumi, blah, blah, blah. Thank you, Megumi, blah, blah, blah. They only talk to her after Yuki says, oh, she said we should do X, Y, Z.
Yeah, she's always driving the conversation.
Exactly.
But you think based on the dynamic, it makes sense. Because obviously you're trying to make sure that everyone's attended to. But there's double meaning with the way the dialogue, like after and before the reveal, it works, which is like really clever writing. And I'm sure that's just because of the episode. I want to point out the writer, Kiyomune Miwa, and obviously any other uncredited writers I'm not picking up on. Or if it was just based on the original like twist from the manga. So I feel like it was both really well like hinted on, probably better written in the manga, but it was really well adapted to fit the current anime like schematic or like display of like how they're conveying it to the audience.
I truly think the way they handled it was genius, because it's like you really don't notice it when you're going in blind. Like, you truly don't. Like, it just feels natural the way how she quote-unquote talks to the girls and how they interact and all that. Like, it really feels like she's there. Especially, and I think this helps a lot, especially because the 3rd episode was Megumi's backstory. So it's like, there she's still alive and she's directly talking to them, having proper conversations. So it makes the viewer think that she's still around because of how they structured the timeline. I just think it's genius, honestly. I really do.
We go more into the later half of the season. Obviously, at this point, the opening's way more messed up. We see more changes with the various photos in the school book, which I like. I think I saw some videos to like prepare myself for this talk, and one of them was mentioning how like the more sparkly, more innocent effects like spring forth from the supposed like graduation album, showing how this encapsulates Yuki's delusions into her current mindset. And we get to see like how she's slowly becoming more aware of how grim the situation is, as like once before some of the like wave effects and transition effects were first like flowers or cutesy things that she was more into, has become like more bloodied serrated arms, or like we see like the photos of like once cute school children, and obviously them just enjoying their lives have been replaced with zombies and the mass hordes and the grave of like, we even like the next episode literally shows Megumi's grave, because at this point like you've seen that change, and like the show reflects that, not just through the dialogue exchanges but also within its presentation, which I thought was really fascinating. And those poor animators, man, they have to like make 4 or 5 versions of this opening, but it also like goes into shows like how much work they put into the show, which I really appreciate.
It's absolutely beautiful. Like truly, when after the first time I finished it and then I watched like all the openings back to back and seeing like how different it is from episode 1 to 12, like it's truly amazing. And I just love all the work they put into it, because it's like, wow, blew my mind. It was, wow, 2015 was that 10 years ago?
Yeah, it was 10 years ago.
Oh, I'm old.
How fitting. Do you feel like Megumi prior zombie bites?
I do. I feel just like her. This is why she's wife for life.
Or no life.
Too soon.
She's dead. We're in future, which is the 8th episode. So this one's a little more reflective, and it gives a chance for the viewer to like breathe, just because of all the revelations that happened these past 2 episodes. Ooh, excuse me. And so like they actually start to talk about like their lives like after, like what they could do in case the school situation doesn't pan out. Of course, I think this is like the beach day episode as well. Oh no, that's the next one. Sorry. This one's just like the bath house episode that sometimes some shows will have. Bathing being like a big part of like Japanese culture, being like a moment of reflection. Obviously, cleansing themselves of the trauma they just had to relive, thanks to the logical one. But yeah, it's nice to see how Miki's involvement within the group has started to shift the reactions and the dynamics between the characters, which shows that like she's an integral part of this group. But then we find out that there's a specific key that they have managed to bump into that appears to hide some secrets that they didn't really realize. Which somehow Yuki's the one that finds it, considering she's the more useless of the group. Which Megumi hold that spot, but now she's dead. So, which I guess leads to actually being Yuki. So either way, Yuki's still useless. But yeah, so obviously they scour the teachers, the old staff room to figure out what the hell this key could unlock. If it's something like more food or something that maybe like Megumi's last words or something. But then it turns out to be a sort of umbrella situation where it's actually an emergency manual for supposedly the school being a secret location for some government experiment and potentially the source of the outbreak. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, unless you want to go more about it.
You're kind of skipping ahead a bit. Yeah, because for this episode, a big focus of this episode was them using Megumi's stationery to write letters to send off in balloons.
Oh,
So-
I skipped over to. Oh, I forgot about that letter episode.
Yeah, you skipped ahead.
Oops. Okay. Backtracking. But yeah. This is the letter episode.
It's basically everything you said, just with the balloons, because they're kind of a two-parter. They're intertwined.
I mean, at this point, it's like it's kind of continuing on from that the start of like meeting.
Yeah, no, you just stop.
Because basically, all that really happened in the letter episode is that Miki is starting to get worried about Yuki's mental state, so she brings it up, but Yuri gets a little pissy with her and tells her to essentially back off and that everything's fine the way it is and to not talk about it again. And then yeah. So then since things gets a little heated, Yuki's like, "Yay, let's write letters together." And then they send it off with on balloons to see, hoping somebody out there will find it.
Which was supposed to be set up for the future of the show or the adaptation of the later half of the manga. But turns out won't be animated.
Nope.
But I guess you can read it in the manga, I'm assuming. Obviously with more of like a cohesive storyline and more like temporal normative like a pacing. So if you want to find out, read the books.
Episode 9, since we already did 8.
Yeah, we did 8 already, so if you want to rewind a bit. But yeah, so 9 is Holiday. Obviously they like try to find more about like what shelter is hidden beneath the school. And they also decide to take another mini break after the break, because they don't want to like rush in and make any like sudden movements without like consulting everyone. So they decide to like clean this weird water biome they have on top of the school, which I thought was first was a water tank, but I guess was this weird research water tank.
Yeah, it was basically a mini lake.
So they decide to like have like a little beach episode, and they're like shooting each other with water guns, and it's all cute and moe, and it's adorables.
Well, I always find this episode very interesting because it's such a tone shift from what they were dealing with, discovering the bioterrorism stuff. Mm-hmm. And the reason why it's such a tone shift is because if I remember, this isn't in the manga at all. This pool scene is not in the manga. And the reason why they added it to the anime is because, like I said, the anime emphasizes more on clinging on to hope in dark times, as well as the relationship between the girls. So this pool episode is here to really cement everyone's bonds, like Kurumi and Yuri, playing with the water guns together, or all of the girls catching Tarumaru around the pool, or Yuri and Miki, I think they were playing Marco Polo in the water. This whole thing was meant to just be to show that their bonds have grown so much and how they're still clinging on to living a normal life despite everything. And I find it so interesting because I remember the first time I saw it, I was just like, well, this is a little off. What about the bioterrorism stuff? But in the next episode, you realize why they did that, because, wow.
I feel that the showrunners felt that it was going too dark too quick, which they felt like it needed to like lighten up the tenseness of like the revelation of this bioterrorism possible origin. Because I feel like maybe the viewers at whichever station they were airing this anime felt they needed that break just for the viewers to not just be super depressed. Which makes sense in a more like television programming marketing perspective, but it does, I agree with you, it does tend to kill a lot of the momentum that the series was edging forward. So I can understand the move, why they did that change, but also I agree with you, it does like ruin the pacing a bit.
It does when you're watching it the first time, but when you're rewatching it again, I feel like it actually makes the ending that much better, if that makes sense.
Well, as a self-contained piece, it does make sense, but I feel like they were trying to plan it to like, well, because that's also the question, because like I haven't gone through a lot of the interviews by the creators, so it's just from like my own understanding of like the show. I'm assuming they were like, because a lot of shows, like, for those who don't know, are often just promotions for the actual comics or the short stories, short books, because in the way animation marketing works is they're usually used as promotional material to buy the actual books, because they have deals with these book publishers in order to promote sales, unless you're super popular enough and it just becomes a whole other media thing, like regular shows in Western markets. That's usually the norm compared to Eastern markets, where it's used as a publishing gimmick and more as a marketing gimmick. But yeah, so obviously this is like a little break before we get to the ramp up of the next 3 episodes.
These next 3 episodes, oh boy.
But let's start off with like after they have the whole beach episode at the end of the 9th episode, Holiday. Taramaru breaks free from his leash and starts to head down into the basement because they hear another puppy. Apparently,
he heard little whimpers.
No whimpers, and we see a familiar outline of a suspicious hag-looking outline. We would cut, because that's where they leave the cliffhanger, to 10, which is Rainy Day.
This episode, oh boy.
Oh, I love this. I can remember Kukki just like whimpering in the corner, just knowing they have to relive the horrors. This is the, I guess if you want to have an equivalent, this is the Shane moment in Walking Dead, or like any type of moment where the base or whatever they're like going through is gonna set off and everything's just gonna go to hell. So the girls like figure out the dog is gone and they're like, oh shit, the dog. They notice his footprints going past the barricades they made, which we find out that they've used all of the supplies they could gather to make these barricades. So literally, if these barricades fall, it's over.
They're cooked. They're straight up cooked.
They're cooked. Kurumi decides to venture off by herself, which was the first mistake, so that she can find Taramaru, because she's obviously the most capable of coming back alive. But we find out Taramaru has been bitten, which is unfortunate, and has become one of the new zombie hordes, one of the followers of zombie. So Kurumi doesn't want to kill it, because obviously it's a cute dog that has turned into this horrific monster, just reeking of I Am Legend callbacks. They like lure Taramaru into this closet, because obviously she can dare kill a dog. But you know, if a dog was coming at me and they were trying to kill me, yeah, I'm not buying more snacks. So then she continues onward despite the extra dog trauma, and we find out the zombie, which obviously was Megumi's corpse, that has become one of the zombie kin. And she doesn't really know what to do, because obviously Megumi was someone very important to them. It's a lot of trauma. It's like killing like your family member at this point. Someone's very close to you, and obviously you make mistakes, and she barely manages to make it back to the group. Obviously they find out what's happened to Kurumi, as everyone panics on what the fuck to do.
She's their strongest fighter. Also, hold on, I need to get my charger. Give me 1 second. Okay, I'm back. My phone was on like 2%.
Oh, why you started recording with 2%?
I wasn't. Look, my phone was at 70%. I blinked. It was at 50 by the time we started. I don't know what happened, but
your phone is charging as a doo-doo.
It is. This phone is a 12, and let's just say her battery is at 60% health.
Oh, jeez. Hopefully it'll last the rest of this session.
It will. We're good now. She's charging. She's staying strong.
So we come back to the girls freaking the fuck out over what they'll do next. Mickey learns, going through the handbook, or the emergency manual, that there could be some experimental medicine, potentially a cure, and just decides to go to the basement, just decides to take charge, which validates her as being one of the best members of the group, as I called out before. Obviously, we head down more into the basement. Miki can't fight that well, but she tries her best to survive. It's like nice to have that character moment of like acknowledging how valuable Kurumi was to the group, just showing her skills compared to Kurumi's and how much she had to train to keep everyone alive. But anyway, we go to the basement. We find out, or Miki finds out what happened to Taramaru, and obviously she goes into a little episode. And that's when all hell starts to break loose, because all the zombies from outside, which have been accumulating for the past how long they've been together, have decided to make their way into the school. Everyone's freaking out. I believe it was, I always forget the older sister's name. Yumi? Yuri, thank you. Yuri is like tempting, because I forget if the promise was mentioned this episode or last episode.
It was, they brought up the episode when they were at the mall.
The mall, yes.
We forgot to mention it.
Yeah, so there's because I didn't know when exactly the timeline was because it started to blur in my memory. But there's a certain promise, which obviously there's always a promise in all these shows where like, oh, if I turn into a zombie, like kill me. So that's similar type of vein. And now we're at the moment where we have to fulfill the promise. And Yuri's unfortunately the one's holding the knife. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, while all this is going down, Yuki decides to remember and start to break out of her delulu.
This is when the delulu is finally breaking. Kurumi is screaming her lungs out in pain. Yuri's having a mental breakdown, knowing that she might have to kill her. Miki is struggling fighting off zombies because she slapped one and it laughed at her. Like, they're all struggling.
And Loretta's banging on the door trying to get it to shut down this production. But everything's to hell, which makes it a great segue for the next episode, which is unfortunately titled Scar. Yuki, like after having a one-to-one talk with Megumi's ghost, which we're unconfirmed if she's an actual ghost or what she wanted Megumi to say to her or what mixed with what she actually said to her, because there are some parts where we see Megumi's actual like last words, or it's implied those were her last words, if I'm getting that wrong.
It was something like that, yeah.
Yeah, some sort of like, obviously it's a pep talk to get Yuki to finally wake the fuck up, and she becomes more on it. Yuki rushes over to help Miki, helping her to go get the antidote. And then, just for the love of God, the universe decides to turn off the power with a lightning strike. Which
them zombies were little buttholes. They did that on purpose. They were all on the roof knocking it down.
Well, because like I believe it was they helped like destroy a lot of like the other like essentials, but like obviously the main thing was the power going off. Mm-hmm. And then Yuri is about to finish the promise and kill Kurumi with like this. Hopefully she sharpened that knife and wasn't like making it dull, so didn't have to stab her a bunch of times. But obviously she can't even do that, because obviously she's her friend or whatever. Yeah, she can't do it. And then down the basement, like Miki's fighting off with Megumi. And obviously she doesn't know her, so she obviously finishes the job. Miki manages to find the antidote, but then obviously everything messed up and the zombies like corner her. She gets locked in a room. During this intercut, Yuki's finally coming to task with what's happening. So like during this whole episode, Yuki's just like, but also still like facing, like trying to break over her delulu. But at the end, she finally is like, okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I was cutting a little bit into the second episode, but...
So, that basically, the episode ends with Megumi telling her that she has to go to the broadcasting room, or else she's gonna lose everything. And, like he said, we don't know if that's her delusion talking to her, or if it's actually her spirit. I like to think it's a little mix of both. Mm-hmm. Especially because the door where Megumi's body was, like, we do see it like kind of open and close when her spirit leaves and stuff. So I do like to believe it is a bit of her spirit trying to help her. But yeah, it basically, the episode ends with Yuki now on her own agenda. She's finally locked in.
Yuki is obviously trying to gun for the broadcasting room with the advice from Megumi for unexplained reasons, because we don't know why yet. So Yuki is like being like outmaneuvering all these zombies, and she's about to become one when she's saved by zombie Tarumaru, which we don't know if it's because the dog actually remembers like her like care for the dog, or she just wants to eat these other zombies. But it's implied that like the zombies still have some sort of memory, which is interesting.
And on top of that, Tarumaru and Yuki, Tarumaru was closest to Yuki out of all of them as well.
Oh yeah, she was like at the hip of that dog.
They were together 24/7.
Yeah, Yuki should have tied that dog better. But anyway,
they tied that dog as tight as they could, and he still escaped. That is not their fault.
I said they should have locked her in the closet, but what I know.
That dog knows how to open doors.
Listen, they can't open walls.
They literally would have had to tape it in a box with one little air hole. That was the only way.
I would have how they abandon dogs. I would just give them the air holes and then open it and closed it every time.
God.
See, this is why I'm not a reliable pet owner. The zombie dog helps Yuki. Yuki gives this great announcement, telling about how much they love school, and obviously they have so much memories of this place, but it's time to let go. Being also tying into her whole thing with letting go of Megumi's memories, but also thanking her in a way which surprisingly works, which is very interesting and all philosophical. Thank you. And obviously they go away for some reason, and then Miki manages to deliver the antidote because obviously there's no one blocking her way anymore. But luckily Kurumi's cured of her condition. I thought she was gonna die, to be honest, but yes. And then everything seems to be okay. Tarmaru seems to be all right, and we think he's just weak from being revived as a zombie. But eventually he dies in Miki's arms.
I have cried twice in my life. Once when I was 7 and I was hit by a school bus. And then again when I heard that little Sebastian had passed.
Oh my god. At this point I was sobbing like a little baby. I seen this was my 5th time watching it, and I still cry. It was so sad because he's so weak and he's trying so hard. And then he dies in her arms. I was like, oh my god, I can't do this. Oh.
It's so over.
I couldn't. It just makes me so sad.
Even I couldn't make fun of the moment. And then I'm making fun of this whole show, and I was like, damn.
It's too much for my little heart. I love that dog.
But yeah, the lone canine defender passes away in Miki's arms. They give Tarmaru a burial. Obviously they're looking at the damages of what happened after the invasion. They can't live there anymore. All the vital systems have been knocked out. So they decided to hold this graduation ceremony. It was this nice little moment of Yuki giving the last moments of you know what, this is the end, but obviously it's not the end, but the end of their time here. And obviously it's not just letting go of Megumi and their memories here as the School Living Club, but also moving on to whatever life appears of as they move on with their own convictions and living in this post-apocalyptic hellhole. And yeah, it's very sweet, very cute. Obviously they're crying with each other because obviously I would too if I was surviving in this hellscape. But yeah, they're trying to figure out they use Megumi's car, which was more banged up than we thought, because as we see in the flashback, or the revised flashback, and here, the car's been pretty banged up, so who knows how far they can go in that broken down Mini. And so they're trying to figure out, between, sort of reminiscent of, oh, you graduated high school, would you go to a college or a company, or, going to work, because usually in the Japanese education system, after you fulfill the basic requirements, you either take an entrance exam for college or prestige university, or you go into the workforce with a specific trade. Which is nice though, parallel, they're still continuing the school motif in this zombie apocalypse setting. But yeah, they say their goodbyes to the school. And then we see the letter of the episode I skipped over has managed to reach someone. But that's season 2 things, and that's how the show ends.
So, I have a lot to say.
Please, go into it.
Fun fact, Tarumaru's not in the manga.
Oh.
He is, but he's only there for I think it was 1 chapter if I remember correctly.
So this whole thing about the second dog was also an anime only thing?
It is, oh yeah. Like I said, the best way I can describe the anime truly feels like it's its own original thing that took inspiration from the manga because of all the changes that was made. but they decided to add to give Tarumaru a more substantial role, just for the fact that it's common knowledge that having pets helps people with, depression.
Right.
And, it helps give people a sense of purpose because it's like they have something to look forward to. So, and that's the whole gimmick of the anime, which is finding hope in horror versus, the manga, which is a lot more like struggling to find it. The manga doesn't live as rent-free in my head as the anime does, unfortunately. Like, it's really good, but it's just the anime was just very special to me. But, if I remember, I think Tarumaru actually dies, like, right away. Like, that's why he's only there for a chapter. I believe he dies, and that really emphasizes how the manga is more depressing. It's like, it's just bad thing after bad thing after bad thing. And they're struggling to figure out, like, what's the point? Like, how are we supposed to see the light at the end of the tunnel when the tunnel is so long? Versus the anime where they're in that light and they don't want to leave it. Which is, explains the whole different dynamics.
Well, I mean, it's the same message, but just conveyed in more positive, negative ways. With, like, I'm assuming because I think I've seen some examples of the manga, and the way they portray the zombies in the show and the way they portray the zombies in the manga are way different. As the manga, it's more realistic and more lifelike to an actual zombie corpse, if a person was made into a zombie, compared to in the show, it's very similar to the moe aesthetic, but with more, obviously, guts and more, like, censored guts. More gore, but like the manga really goes into it, which, like, if you're faint of heart to seeing guts, you maybe not want to start with that one. But yeah, it shows that, like, there's good in both reasons of, like, because I watched some analysis videos about it, and it shows that, like, they're leaning more into more of the individualist aspects, as obviously the whole delusional or Yuki's delusion is still a major plot point of the books, but it's just shown as a character arc for the first arc of that story, as compared to as it's like planting seeds for the later parts of the series. So obviously, when making a one season show, you usually want to wrap it up one and done. If you wish there was more time to go into each of the character psyches, because they really do play against their roles as these character archetypes, because, like, as you mentioned, Kurumi's more of the badass, like, white fighter warrior, but she's the one that gets taken out first. And then we have Yuri, who's the older sister, like, more leader of the group, and she's the one that can't decide on anything in the end when it, like, matters important. And then you have Miki, who's the more logical, which she kind of still portrays the role, which like as the logical, more common sense member of the group, but she gets caught and she's ultimately useless in the last part of the fight. And it's not until Yuki, who's seen as the more useless, like, oh, cute, like, distracting character, and she's the one that pulls everything and grabs the W for the whole group in the end. So it's really interesting to see that, like, twist on these type of similar characters in similar apocalyptic shows.
I'm really disappointed that they never did come out with the season 2, because I get it. It was just they made so many changes in season 1 that they basically would have had to make an original thing again for season 2. I get that, but
Right.
it's just so sad because there was a lot of interesting things in the manga that could have been very fascinating to explore with season 2. Like, for example, Kurumi in the manga, she zombies don't attack her anymore because she's infected.
Oh,
Like-
because
So it's like, yes, she got the vaccine, and she didn't turn into them, but it becomes a huge issue for her because every time a zombie completely ignores her, she's reminded that she's not the same. She's, in a way, one of them, and for all they know, the vaccine's only slowing the inevitable.
we don't know if it's like a lasting solution.
Yeah, but it does help them out because since they ignore her, she's able to go to more places than them, kill more of them because they think she's one of them.
Right.
And it's a very interesting character arc for her, learning to come to terms with what happened to her. And then, of course, there's a bunch of new characters that they meet, because their whole thing is Megume actually circled a place to go in case something happened to the school, and that's where they're traveling to.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like there's a whole bunch of characters that they meet and stuff. It's just a lot of really cool things that happened that we're never gonna see in the anime's version of the series. It's sad. It's very sad.
Yeah, as I was looking into it, there's like 7 or 8 whole characters with full-on character arcs. So if you want to read that, go ahead. But as we're only doing the anime, obviously it's very like, in the end, it's kind of like really well done as like a single like type of show. Like, if anything, if you just like don't watch the last end credit bit, like it's pretty well as like this one and done type of show.
It ends very well with them driving off. It's just that last piece with the girl finding their letter that kind of kills it, because it's like, oh, there was meant to be more and we didn't get it.
Yeah, that's the only like downside. But as like a one and done show, it's pretty well done. Obviously, we would watch this, if you were to watch this, watch it more during Halloween time, or when you're in a zombie killing mood, as Kuki's always in, apparently. But yeah, what were your thoughts like when you first watched it as compared to now when you rewatched it? Because obviously it's been like apparently 10 years.
Crazy. But when I first watched it, let me tell you, the very first time I saw the Tarumuru death scene, I sobbed. I remember, it's so vivid. It was 3 a.m. I was watching it in the dark in my bedroom. And then the whole thing with him dying in her lab, I literally started sobbing so hard I started choking that I had to run to the kitchen to get water. Because I was literally praying, like the second I saw that dog in episode 1, I prayed to myself that nothing would happen to him. So when I saw that he got cured, I was so happy. I was like, oh my god, he's okay. And then when he wasn't, I was just like... Like, are you for real? Like, I couldn't take it. And to this day, it still hits. It's like, it's just not fair. And then Megume, I absolutely adore Megume. She's my favorite, even though we never actually see her alive. Like, she's not alive during the whole show, but I absolutely fell in love with
Technically,
Megume.
she's alive during the flashbacks. She's just like not alive during the present days.
I absolutely loved her. I thought she was so cute too. I really like her design. I love all the girls' personalities. I think they're all very well written. I think the art style is beautiful. The animation is beautiful. The soundtrack. I love the soundtrack. I think the soundtrack is very like, it's very sweet, very eerie, very calm, and then some parts very disturbing. Like, for example, in Rainy Day, when the zombies break into the school, the song that plays is actually a dark, distorted version of Megume's theme. It's insane. Like, it's just, I really think that this is one of the best crafted animes. Like, even though it's short and its lifetime only lasted 1 season, I really think it's one of the best crafted animes, and it does the whole cute and horror theme really well, because, you know, that whole gimmick is very popular now, especially after a Doki Doki Literature Club, you know, cute but scary. And I, as someone who is very enthusiastic in the horror scene, it's not well done most of the time. They either lean too far into the cute or too far into the horror, and they don't mesh it well enough. And I feel like this anime meshes it really, really well. And
I guess I should give my thoughts about the show as a whole. Like, I kind of like, I touched upon this throughout the whole review session. I do love the way how the sound, not just the soundtrack, but the visuals, the storytelling, the dialogue exchanges really play with the contrast of meshing, obviously, because it creates this, as I read a comment that like talked about this, a dissonance between the cuteness of what the characters are trying to feel or like convey compared to the horror realism that they're like faced with day to day. It's really interesting to see how they play with that dichotomy of those two like aggressive forms of cuteness and horror realism. And since we're in the days of like fan revivals and, you know, marketers trying to push it's like to bring up old properties, do you think, not just in potentiality of a new show, do you think it could still live on like and thrive as it once did, or do you think we're like past that just because we've gotten a lot of those type of shows now?
I don't think it's ever coming back. I think it's run its course. The manga is finished essentially. It's been 10 years, and on top of that, there's no easy way to view it because it got removed from Crunchyroll. So unless you go out of your way to pirate it, it's not like you're gonna scroll through Crunchyroll and find it and be like, oh, that looks interesting, let me watch it. Like, I feel like if you're gonna, I feel so bad, my cat's crying outside my door. I feel like the only way you're gonna end up finding it is if you're like me and you like horror animes and this pops up on a list of top horror to watch. Or if you have a friend recommend it to you, which is what I've been doing to all the reason why I watched it 5 times is because I recommended it to 4 people. First time was for me, the other 4 was for different people who I wanted to see it. So,
like, you think a sequel anime is like dead in the water? You don't think
it's not coming? I don't think it's coming.
I mean, that's what they said about Devil's a Part-Timer, but look what happened.
I don't see it happening with this one, especially just due to the sheer fact that they have to rewrite like a lot because they deviated so much from the manga, and I feel like that's just an extra hassle they don't want to do.
I mean, look at the Marvel movies; like they're all like loosely adapted anyway, so. I mean, it's not out of the realm of enough money
Marvel
at
is a massive team with Disney backing it.
All right. But if it does happen in the near future, ooh, will you look silly?
If it does happen, I don't know. I'll be happy. All 4 people I made watch it. I'll make them watch it with me.
But yeah, I guess that concludes our review of School Live.
I do want to mention one thing though.
Oh.
In case you know, it wasn't realized. Yuki's Delulu, it wasn't there since day 1. It only happened after Megumi died. The trauma of Megumi dying was so much that her brain broke, and that's when she started becoming Delulu. Because, you know, all of the you know, why does my brain keep saying screenshots? Flashbacks. All of the flashbacks of before Miki, you know, Yuki's actively helping. She literally says that she feels like she's useless to the group because she's not as strong or smart. So it's like she wasn't always delusional. It happened after Megumi. So I just think that's a little interesting thing to note about her character.
No, it does make sense just because her conflicting with her passing and letting go is the trigger that like allows her to move on. So it does make sense her death being the one that causes the major Delulu shift. But it also goes to show how strong of a character she was. And, you know, like at the beginning, I mentioned this. I mean, throughout the whole review right now, I just mentioned that like she's the most useless character and shows how much she's grown as a character throughout the whole season. And ultimately like letting go of like what Megumi was to her and like how her resolve and strength helped her to move on even after her death. But yeah, so you get to prove me wrong.
Let's see. If it comes out within the next year, I don't know. I'll buy you a skin in Fortnite.
I mean, listen, you gotta give me at least $1 million Fortnite bucks. I don't know if we're playing that well, so I don't even know if that's a lot.
It's a lot. Just 3,000 costs like $40, so take that as
Lord.
you will.
But yeah, thanks for joining me on this horrible light nightscape of a show, which was some in-depth moments. But yeah, hopefully we can continue this in another entry. Let's see how this goes, and hopefully Loretta won't kill me for using this space because this is her like timeout space. So she really, hopefully she doesn't kill me that hard. But yeah, I hope everyone's
curious. Just curious. Have you seen Perfect Blue?
No, I do not know what perfect blue is. Is it a perfect color of the oh no.
I know the next thing we're watching.